When I had moved back into town, into Fresno, after completing film school, I was looking around trying to get involved in productions that were happening, and one name that kept coming up was John Kelly. I was told that if I was really serious about what I was trying to do, that I should get in contact with him and do my best to try to work with him. He was known as the best in town. John Kelly often surprised me in his approach because he was able to always think up a new way or a creative way in which to approach the project. He'd often think up these shots. Sometimes it seemed to me, like, I'm sure he knew what he was doing, it seemed to me like it might have been a little bit random, but he would just think of these shots that he wanted to do and how he would achieve them, and he would just go into his workshop and create these tools that would allow him to achieve these shots that he was thinking of. I truly enjoyed going to work with him, and it was to the point I was like, I knew there were two things that were going to happen. One was that I was going to learn something, and two was that I was going to laugh. And John had just this incredible sense of humor where, he would make fun of what we were doing, in a sense, that, the absurdities of some of the situations we'd find ourselves in, but at the same time, he gave everything he had to what we were doing. He really loved to teach while he was working. He wouldn't just set up a light and just, or just tell me to go put something somewhere. He would stop to explain why he was doing what he was doing, and I found that extremely helpful, and I really appreciated it. And I, to this day, still carry with me some of the things that he had taught me. He was very artistic when he approached a particular project. It didn't matter what the project was. He was always thinking. I could see him doing it. I think it's really great that John's name is attached to this award because John's name has always been synonymous with the highest level of work that was coming out of the Central Valley. And so to have this and win this award, I think is a real honor.
Well, I met John through my wife. This is in 1999. We met at a coffee house, and I think we just talked about film for like 2 hours. And John was really into the same types of film I was, like the artsy foreign films. He was just a walking textbook of film knowledge. John was an old school film guy, so he had his 35mm film camera, which he used all the time. But even though he had that old film camera, he was still up on all the latest technology. I mean, it was never ending, and we would go down occasionally to Los Angeles, down to the Cinegear show, and look at all the latest technology for the film industry. We couldn't really buy anything because it was expensive stuff, but we'd play with it, and he'd get some ideas. And actually, often he'd go back to his workshop and recreate what he saw down there at the show, with his own tools. He'd make all kinds of grip gear. We often joke that we were going to the John Kelly School of Film when we were on the set with John. He was just such a great teacher. And I went to film school for a short time in San Francisco, and the stuff I learned on the set with John just completely blows any formal film school out of the water. I do remember a funny story on Jake Kincaid when I was the dolly grip. So I was pushing the dolly, and John was sitting on the dolly. We were shooting a shot of Alan Autry riding his horse at a pretty fast pace. So I had to keep up with the horse. And it was a side view, so we had to go side with the horse. And we were shooting it, and John kept saying, faster, 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 and I'm pushing the dolly faster and faster and faster. And then I realized it's only a 24-foot track. So I immediately put on the brakes, and we hit the end of it pretty hard, actually. And John's camera goes wobbling, and he goes wobbling, and he looks down at me, and he says, "What the hell was that?" And I said, "John, you kept saying faster, faster, faster." And he's like, "Yeah, but you have to stop at the end of the track." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, you're right, sorry." John was a great family man. I think he loved his son more than anything, even more than film itself. He would do anything for his son. And when I had my son in 2002, I used John as a role model for how I interact with my son, because John just glowed whenever he talked about Patrick. Patrick was his world. I think John would be very humbled by the award with his name on it. He probably would say he doesn't deserve to have his name on such an award, but John was such a unique character in this local film community. I can't think of any other cinematographer in town who worked at the high level of expertise as John Kelly.